to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Hiba, and here on my channel I discuss recent missing person cases. If you're into that type of content, go ahead and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Today I'd like to talk about another case out of West Virginia. It seems like there's been a lot of cases from West Virginia recently, and I just have to say that the communities really go hard and always come together in amazing ways. Today's case is about Gretchen Fleming, a 27-year-old woman who is missing from Parkersburg, West Virginia. Gretchen hasn't been seen or heard from since December 3rd, 2022. Unfortunately, she wasn't reported missing until December 12th, over a week later. According to those who know Gretchen, it's not out of the ordinary for her to stop responding for a few days. In a Facebook comment, one of her friends says, "To be honest, and I love her to death, but Gretchen definitely has a way of ghosting for lengths of time." I'm sure it took a handful of people realizing that none of them at all had heard from her in a number of days to put it together that something was up. I'm still very, very much hoping that this is still the case. So for the first few days that she was missing, everyone assumed that everything was fine. However, as time went on and she was still unreachable, family and friends became worried and reported her missing. From what I could gather, Gretchen had recently moved back to the area and was staying with her grandmother. Previously, she had been living in North Carolina for the past few years, and I believe she may have gone to college there. On the night she was last seen, Gretchen had visited two bars, one called My Way and another called Front Row. My Way was the last place that she was actually seen, and it was late at night into the early hours of December 4th. According to a few people who saw Gretchen that night, she was heavily intoxicated by the time she reached My Way. This comment reads, "She was at My Way in Peaburg the night of the 3rd. She was extremely intoxicated and lost her purse. We were trying to help her find it. She was with an older man as well." The first thing I'd like to address is her purse and phone. Apparently she had forgotten them at the bar, and law enforcement now has them in their possession. The second part of the statement mentions an older man. It's rumored that this older man referenced is a man who goes by Preston Pierce. According to Preston, he and Gretchen were both intoxicated, and after they left, he dropped her off at the police station. As far as I can tell, he doesn't really explain why he would drop her off at the station. It also doesn't make any sense considering he admits that he was intoxicated. Most drivers who are under the influence want to avoid police at all costs, so it's odd that he would be driving to the station. Also, if he really had dropped Gretchen off at the police station, there would definitely be footage from cameras nearby. Since this is the last man allegedly seen with Gretchen, let's dig a little deeper into who he is and his background. Preston Pierce was originally born as Darrell Lott. He changed his name around 2007 for unknown reasons, but I've seen some claim that he had a bad relationship with his father, which is why he changed his name. Regardless, Preston, or Darrell, whatever you want to call him, was previously a police officer. He worked for several various counties, and it's not really clear why he stopped being an officer. However, after that, he worked at various jobs, and rumor has it that he was fired from many positions for sexual harassment. Most recently, I believe he was working as a delivery driver for DoorDash or as a driver for Spark. Since it was discovered that he was likely the last person with Gretchen, dozens of people, specifically women, have come forward to share their experiences with Mr. Pierce. And let me tell you, this guy is a creep, to say the least. I'm going to share just a few of the stories I've seen. One person says, "He was my DoorDasher and would come by my place of employment. He made mention of calling my place of work to ask about me. He was relentless, wouldn't give me my food unless he got my number. I thought it was innocent at first, until he kept coming back around, and then he began finding me on my socials." Another says, "He delivered DoorDash to me on many occasions. I always have leave at my door, because at that time my husband was at work, and I don't open the door when it's just me and my kids home. He would bang on the door or ring the doorbell. I would tell him either through the doorbell or the DoorDash messages that I'm aware he's there and I will have my husband step out and get it, so he'd think there was a man home. He would sit outside my house for a very long time. I reported him to DoorDash many times. They would give me like a $5 or $10 order credit and that's it. He last delivered to my house February 23rd of this year. I recall my husband stepping out to tip him because we had forgotten to add it. Preston says, "Wife not home." My husband just closed the door. Even if this man had nothing to do with Gretchen, he needs to be put away. But I fully believe he knows something. He has to. The final one I'll share reads, "I know this man very well. I once caught him masturbating to pornography. Literally the following day, he had me arrested because he planted a gun in his car and then let me borrow it to run errands. I am a convicted felon, so when he called the cops and they searched the car, I got arrested for it. This man is so dangerous, and I tried to tell them in 2010, but no one would listen to me. Like I said, guys, there's at least a dozen more stories just like this, and I believe every single one. If it was just one person coming forward, I'd maybe take it with a grain of salt. But over a dozen that I've seen alone, something isn't right." Police must have also believed that something was off, because a search warrant was executed at his home last week on the 15th. I've seen it reported that several items were collected, but it's not clear what or why. To make matters even more suspicious, Preston has started selling off many of his possessions, including couches, TVs, clothes, and more. Many have gathered that Preston could possibly be trying to flee the area, and this is why he's selling his possessions. He also listed a pair of women's boots and a women's jacket on sale on Facebook Marketplace, and some have speculated that these may be Gretchen's belongings. However, her family has said that the items are not hers. Preston does have a daughter, so it's possible that these are his daughter's items. It goes without saying that this isn't looking good. The most obvious theory is that Preston Pierce, the last person known to be with Gretchen, is somehow involved in her disappearance. Based on his history, this wouldn't be hard to believe. It's also important to keep in mind that he does have police training, which could help him cover up a crime if one was committed. It's also possible that someone else, someone unknown at this time, had something to do with Gretchen's disappearance. Even if she did leave with Preston, it's possible that she met someone else later that night, and that something happened then. I always try to remain optimistic, so I also want to mention the possibility that Gretchen is taking some time to herself. We know that she did disconnect from family and friends for days at a time, and that everything was fine. Let's hope that that's the case now. Like I said, the community has really come together for Gretchen and her family. A vigil was held to pray for Gretchen's safe return, and I believe the police chief himself attended. I'll include a snippet of that here if I can find one.
"Frustration, sadness, and fear tonight in Wood County.
We just hope she comes home soon."
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
For Gretchen Fleming's family, the feelings are overwhelming.
And if she comes home, what's the first thing that you guys are going to do together, you think?
I'll probably have a big party with everyone that misses her so much.
I know her so well that if she was able to call, she would call me in a heartbeat. She would never let any of us suffer like this.
Dozens gathering here at Parkersburg City Park, moved by her story, but holding on to hope that she's alive.
Gretchen is 5'1" and weighs approximately 110 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information, please contact Detective Zimmerman at the number below. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening to Gretchen's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe so others can see this as well, and I hope to see you in my next one.